Astrology is always read in context. This means that even though some planets will be louder at different times and some quietly getting on with it in the background, everything on the wheel is happening like a large orchestra who are working out their harmonies together. Every one of us has every planet, sign, and house in our own charts. So we are all playing with the same orchestra and we are all adding our own creative input, as well as assisting with the conducting of the symphonies. That's the biggest picture. At present, our orchestra is shifting from Pisces to Aquarius. Astrologers differ about which stage of this shift we are currently experiencing, but all agree we are experiencing it. Because these big shifts happen only every 25,000 years or so, we are faced with both enormous opportunities to shape our futures, as well as enormous challenges of deciding what we want to keep from the last age of Pisces and what we want to move on from, or morph into something else. This presentation looks at what's happening primarily with the Mars opposite Pluto experience currently underway. The Mars and Pluto cycle is always happening, as are all the other cycled combinations of all the planets. Just like the moon cycle reveals, different points of the Mars/Pluto cycle trigger certain times that are very loud, and others that will be overshadowed by other cycles through our lives. Mars takes approximately 2 years to move around our chart, whilst Pluto takes approximately 20 years to move through just one sign. So Mars will trigger different aspects with Pluto approximately around this 2-year cycle, depending on his speed and motion fluctuations. So Mars in opposition to Pluto is not rare. What makes this Mars opposite Pluto aspect very loud right now for all of us is its relation to the shift of Pluto into Aquarius from its current anaretic last degrees. So this Mars opposition Pluto is effectively pulling out everything in the Piscean cupboards onto the floor, so we can sort the mess ready for the move, because the trucks are arriving tomorrow, figuratively speaking. Let's look more closely at this Mars-Pluto cycle now. And I've picked the 31st of October 2024 to start this conversation that will continue right up until April 2025. I hope you enjoy it, and I would love to hear how you are managing your own orchestra through this very exciting, albeit challenging and often painfully overwhelming time. Looking at this chart cast for 31st October 2024, I have highlighted the grand trine from Neptune in Pisces, Mercury in Scorpio, and Mars in Cancer. This is a water trine. Trines provide easy access and harmony to those things signified by the planets in their signs and houses. Look at your own chart to check out which areas of your life are funning smoothly for you. You may not be noticing them with all the current commotion going on, but take a look. We have a Mercury opposition to Uranus, which is separating, a Venus opposition to Jupiter, and the subject for today, the Mars opposition to Pluto. The duration of any aspect can be seen in the approaching degrees of the aspect, the perfected aspect itself, and then we watch it separating or diminishing. So the energy has been building as Mars approached from just past 20 degrees of Cancer and has gotten stronger and stronger as it now perfects its opposition to Pluto. So if we only look at this chart in terms of the trine and this opposition, we can see that our trine flow is disrupted by an opposition from one of its point out to Pluto. If you pause this presentation and read the data on this slide, you will note the period of 3 perfected oppositions from Mars to Pluto that will take place. The last one will not happen until April 2025. This is because of Mars's current long stay in Cancer and his ingress into Leo, retrograde, back into Cancer, and final direct motion back into Leo. Staying with the 31st of October 24 chart, we can also see a kite configuration with the apex point of Mars at the trine, and the kite point being Pluto, outside obstructing the trine. Kites add emphases, bringing all these points into one narrative. And now we start to put words to technical data. We know that this is going to be quite dynamic in its effect on each of us and on all of us. There is good reason so much is being made of the current Mars-Pluto opposition, and here we can see more of the why. Even if you know nothing about astrology, you will still be experiencing what's happening in your way, in your life, according to those areas of your chart that are being triggered by this configuration. Sometimes it can be extremely helpful when we are stuck in turmoil to recognize that there are patterns to the universe and to our lives, and that it is because we are each so vital to the cosmos itself that we get to experience this stuff. Knowledge can be powerful. Each of the planets in your chart have different impulses to express. They have to express who they are, who you are, in these areas, through the signs they inhabit in your birth chart. As these strong transits happen, these provide these parts of you with new skills and new tools. Sometimes someone might hand you something you don't comprehend, and you have to go through a learning process. Sometimes the gift looks like a curse. This is one of those times, for sure. And everyone is trying to work out which perspective to take on things, especially since Neptune there at one point at his anaretic degree also can confuse us so much. It is almost as if he is demanding we stay in confusion long enough so we don't just go all Mercury and act on only half the picture. We are all familiar with how the moon acts as the trigger or timer of events in astrology. And here we note that the new moon 1st November is triggering a new cycle in the sign of Scorpio, which is co-ruled by Mars and Pluto, or by Mars using traditional astrology approaches. The chart will always give us many clues. This new moon is telling us that she is also focusing on this Mars-Pluto theme right now. Since the moon greatly affects our emotions and brings in new life through the astral, this is the time to go deeper and be more courageous and proactive. There are way too many opportunities for you right now. You are here for this. You have been training for this. You are ready to go on the field. So you are frightened. You've practiced, but there are large crowds out there, and this seems very different to what you expected. Notice now, as soon as you step out onto the field, the sun comes up to aid your game. On 4 November, Mars ingresses into Leo. Instead of the emotional moon, now he has the sun at his side. He definitely senses some excitement and even a bit more joy, and you should also, depending upon your Leo house. Note also that 0 degrees of Leo is opposite 0 degrees of Aquarius. If you're having a hard time relating all of this to your own life, I am putting up short planet chats, where each planet is expressing themselves to you in just a few short sentences. These might help you start to recognize how different each planet is in your own chart, and why some parts of your life might even seem contradictory to you. Confusion is just part of any learning process. Embrace confusion. Mars is our vital doer, liver, and courageous hero. He is the spark of self-survival. Nothing happens without Mars taking action, yet it seems these days there is no planet so maligned and stifled as Mars. Mars is regularly held up as bad, inept, stupid, uncouth, unprogressive, and even toxic. There is little wonder, then, that our world is full of demoralized people who search inwards always for the culprit, rather than deal with what is often out in front of them to deal with. Well, it may be time for a showdown, even though ultimately these two have to work together. So let's find out more about the differences between Mars and Pluto. You can pause this video to read the lists. These next 2 slides reveal how the game starts. In our opening slide that showed the expected transits of this opposition through to April, you can tap into how the game progresses and even check how you are doing with those issues in your own life running this theme. These lessons are about power and the will to live our lives as individuals, together. Pause the video and check where your planets are in your birth chart and where they are now by these transits. This Mars-Pluto cycle started with Mars conjunct Pluto on the 14th of February 2024. On this slide, you will see that this conjunction took place at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Mars and Pluto came on board for the new aeon. It is almost as if the solutions are already there for us to pick and choose from. I know the world is horrible right now, and we must say no to this. Every single one of us is valuable and sacred to ourselves and to each other, no matter what side of things you find yourself on now. The sacrificing must stop. The Neptunian and Mercurial lies must stop. This is one part of Pisces we will gladly leave behind. Mars and Pluto are the big guns of our desires and our manifested actions. These guys will be cleaning up the mess of Pisces through the current big reveal, so we never ever hurt each other like this again. How does the saying go? If you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. You're better than that. So am I. Much power to you over the next 6 months.